Hey gang, welcome to podcast 74 of the Pickleball Krewe. This week, Ken's going to tell us all about his tournament director training at Southern Pickleball in Macon, Georgia. Ken, take it away.
Yeah, so Vicky and I have been involved in helping to run tournaments, and we've actually run several tournaments ourselves. But I got wind of this training through Southern Pickleball, through Thomas Hockard, and Thomas and I decided to go to Macon, Georgia for the week. So the way it worked was by enrolling, you had 2 days of classroom training. And if y'all are familiar with Pickleball Brackets is now part of pickleball.com, pickleballtournaments.com. And Southern Pickleball has a very integrated relationship with pickleballtournaments.com or pickleballbrackets.com. And they really have a big influence on the improvements that are taking place on that software to run tournaments. I mean, that is the rudimentary software that they're using to manage all their tournaments, to actually put on a tournament. And so this training was it was 2 days of classroom, and that was to learn really how to use the Pickleball Brackets tournament, Pickleball Brackets software, excuse me. And so the first thing we did was, it was about 20, 21, 22 of us that came from all around Georgia and really the Southeast. Thomas and I were the only two from Louisiana. So our 2-day classroom tutorial kind of involved, so we took a demo tournament that they had already populated, and we learned how to manipulate brackets, how to move players from one bracket to another. Then we also created our own tournament, and while we couldn't register people for it, we created those similar brackets in our own tournament. So we kind of modeled our personal tournament after their demo tournament. And that gave us just some experience of they created scenarios that we then had to try to model in Pickleball Brackets for our own tournament. The other thing is we talked about, just as a group, it kind of became a roundtable where we talked about what are best practices for promoting a tournament, for using social media for a tournament, for how many players in a bracket, what type of format as far as the number of games, how many games, when you merge brackets because you don't have enough people, then what do you do as far as how are you giving out medals? Which the short answer in that, if you merge two brackets, you're actually giving medals to both of the original brackets that you pulled together to create a competitive group to be able to play in your tournament. So, but this was a great 2-day session.
Yeah. So Ken, this was not just promoting Southern Pickleball. He was promoting just pickleball in general with this, and wanting to spread, showing people how to run tournaments. Is that true?
Yeah. So by being in this training, we are getting these 21 tournament directors are getting basically, in a way, certified, and they're being taught how to follow the Southern Pickleball way of running a tournament, so that we could then now be associated with Southern Pickleball in running our tournaments, and that we'd be following them in a similar way to how Southern Pickleball runs. So we have that same standard as Southern Pickleball. But I'll tell you what, Paul Midkiff and Mark Spackman, those are two of the owners of Southern Pickleball. Their main goal is to spread the joy of pickleball by having more people out there putting on tournaments, putting on quality tournaments that when a player registers for, they know that a tournament is going to be held to certain standards and they're going to have a good experience. They're all about the experience. And whether it's a tournament I put on, or a tournament somebody else puts on, or Southern Pickleball does. They actually have a core group that puts on their own tournaments. They're all about spreading the joy of pickleball through tournaments. So it's really a great organization to be associated with. And we really had a great time both in the classroom for 2 days, as well as um, then the 2 days that followed that was they actually had their annual Macon Love is in Macon, Georgia, um, Valentine's tournament. And so after the 2 days of classroom where we created all these scenarios and tried to solve the problems, we were right on the front lines as co-workers for this tournament. So Wednesday, Thursday was the classroom, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the tournament. So come Friday morning, we showed up at the venue, it's called the Rhythm and Rally in Macon, Georgia. It's an old Kohl's department store. There are 16 courts on the first floor and 16 courts on the second floor. So there's 32 courts, indoor facility. And we were jumped in, started using the software we had become familiar with over the last couple of days. And what we started to do is they kind of taught us at the time in the classroom how to check somebody in. So we followed our little cheat sheets as far as checking people in, making sure that we had a cell phone number to contact them. Because Southern Pickleball Brackets, if you're familiar with, when your match is up, you get a text that says, hey, your opponent is so-and-so, report to the desk to pick up your score sheet and the balls, and then report the court number, and it actually tells you the court number. So we had to verify that all the players, we had their cell phone numbers, that was correct, that they had given us permission to text, because that's an option on there that you can say, no, I don't want text. So over the 2-day period, we filled in at all of the key positions of helping to run a tournament.
I think that's great. I mean, one thing I think we all know too, and what makes what they're doing even nicer is, I think nothing's worse than getting to a tournament and it's chaos and they're having problems or they are not aware of what they should be doing. That follows its way somehow, usually to the courts, and just having any kind of bad experience at a tournament when it comes from the people who are running the tournament, that's an easy way to get a bad reputation and for people to not return to your tournament. It's kind of a shame because you always want to try to give everybody a second chance to get it together, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So by doing something like they're doing with you guys, it really does ensure a good experience for somebody all the way through the whole process. So I think that's great.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, that you want to make sure from the time you check in that you're having a good experience. And it was kind of like that half hour, even though check-in started an hour before each bracket started, it was that 30-minute window right before a bracket started that we had 6 computers going at the check-in station, because that's when the line really kind of grew. And we wanted to make sure that all the manpower was pushed to check in, and that we were getting people checked in so they didn't wait more than 2 or 3 minutes at the longest before they were able to step up to the desk and check themselves in. Of course, get a goodie bag and all that stuff, ask if they had any questions, and move on to the next person. So it was a lot of fun.
How many people played in that tournament, Ken?
We were just shy of 700 in this tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. And, it was the 3-day tournament that had men's singles and women's doubles on Friday, mixed on Saturday, and then men's doubles, women's singles on Sunday. And the other key areas that we worked is the way pickleball brackets or pickleball tournaments works. The second a bracket becomes live, the computer automatically spits out the first 3 or 4 matches, whatever it is. And then what you do is you take that match, you scan it, you take an empty court, you scan it, you're marrying a match to a court. The second you marry a match to a court, a text message goes out to all 2 or 4 players involved, whether it's singles or doubles, saying, "Hey, come pick up your clipboard, come pick up the balls. You've now been assigned a court." We put the clipboard in a basket with 2 balls. The first team that comes up gets 1 ball. The second team that comes up gets the second ball, the basket, and the clipboard. And we just asked them to initial, and the winning team, someone from the winning team, to return that clipboard. So Thomas and I took turns working. As a printout came off the printer, then we married it to a court, which is a clipboard is a court. On the back of the clipboard, it had a court and it had a QR code, and we put those in the baskets on the table. Or the other main job that we had was, as a match completed and the winning team brought the clipboard back in, and we would glance at it, make sure there were 2 scores, and then we would input that into the computer. And it's really interesting. The whole software has kind of a dashboard, so you can see that if in this bracket I'll make something up, there's 21 matches that have to be played. It's going to tell you that you've got 3 completed matches, you got 4 on the court right now, and you've got, whatever the math is, 15 more matches to go or 14 more matches to go. And it shows kind of a graph of how much of that bracket has completed. And you can kind of estimate about when that whole bracket is going to finally finish. So, it was really a blast being trained on pickleball tournaments, pickleball brackets, to how to run a tournament, and really being in the firing line, because players are coming up and asking questions. I've been sitting out for 30 minutes. When's my next match? And you can quickly look them up and say, well, we got 2 on the court. You're the next one up, or, whatever. And, at first you're kind of nervous as players are coming up and asking you questions, but through the course of the day, you start to become more and more comfortable with the software and what's going on, and really feel like you're a team player.
So Ken, 2-part question. One, were you able to use some of these principles to run the tournament you and Vicky just ran?
Just gonna
Number
ask that.
1. And number 2, do you foresee running y'all's tournaments along these guidelines through Southern Pickleball in the future?
Yeah, good questions. So with the first question, I was able to incorporate certain principles, and it had to do with bracket size, how many games they played, whether they played to 111, 1 to 15. All of our games now are win by 2. I'm trying to follow Southern Pickleball standards and guidelines. Bracket size, we tried to stay away from 7. 7's a bad number. With
It's
a 7
too many
player
games in round robin.
Well, with a 7-player bracket, you've got 6 matches. So here's the key: the golden number, the minimum is 60-point minimum. So you want a player to play at least 60 points, and that means that if I'm in a 5-team bracket, I play 4 other teams. I'm playing them 1 to 15, 4 times 15. If I win all games 15-0, I've played a minimum of 60 points, 60 scoreable points, right? Really, you're going to play more rallies than that, but 60 scoreable points. If I get to 6 teams, I'm still playing 1 to 15. I'm playing now 5 times 15. I'm playing 75 points. Once I get to 7 teams, I've got 6 matches. You go to a 1 to 11. So you're going to play minimum of 66 points there. Once you get at 8 or more, then you start to break it into 2 pools. And at 8, actually, everybody plays everybody once, and then everybody moves to a playoff, and that's kind of creating your seeding. Once you get to 10 teams with 2 brackets, then you elevate just the top 2 from each pool in. So anyway, I'm giving a bunch of examples, but there's all of these ways of handling brackets of certain size. Avoid 7 if you can. how to move people from one bracket to another. I also found out when your duper is higher, or especially higher than your pool play, and you want to play down, it's really the tournament director's um, ability to do that if and only if your reliability is low. If your reliability is low and you're just over, let's say you're a 4.05, but you have a low reliability and you got guys I haven't played that much lately, I really should be in 3.5, or I feel like I'd be more competitive in 3.5. That's okay for the tournament director to allow a player to kind of play down in that. And it's because the reliability is low. So that's saying that maybe they're really not quite a 4.0 player. So the short answer is I was able to incorporate some of my lessons learned into the tournament we just had in March. Others I could not, because we were using a proprietary software and it didn't allow us to do some of the things that I'd like to do. Now, going forward, I'd like to run as many tournaments as I can through pickleballtournaments.com. To me, it's the whole package. It gives you just so much flexibility. And, you know, some people think the more of the pod format works better. With pickleball brackets, you go to more of like the next available court is who gets assigned. So you're using all the courts for all the brackets that are going on at the same time. And Southern Pickleball feels like that's really the better approach, is that all courts are available to whatever are the currently active brackets, versus having kind of a pod play where this bracket has these 3 courts and this bracket has these 2 courts. So
yeah, that would seem to run the tournament smoother and get it. I don't want to say get it over quicker, but if you got a bunch of players in it, you want it to go smooth and things to keep flowing, because that can be frustrating sometimes when you're at a tournament and you see a bunch of open courts with nobody playing on.
Right.
You know, it was really a lot of fun just kind of peeking behind the scenes and looking at how, you know, the people who are, you know, the originators or the founders of Southern Pickleball, just how their mind works as they're approaching a tournament. They've also incorporated some younger folks in as their social media experts and their promoters. And she kind of gave us a little bit of, you know, what it takes to, where are the kind of the key points in time for promoting your tournament, and when's the best time to send out social media, when's the best time to send out an email. You know, people read emails in the morning, but social media right around that 5-6 o'clock hour, that's the best time for social media. People are getting off of work, or they're about to go play and they're checking their social media before they, and so that's the kind of time to hit them with social media. But early in the morning, people are checking their emails and kind of starting their day. So, and that's just one example. She kind of went on and on about another thing, you know, giving out discount codes to certain people who are kind of ambassadors to your tournament to help spread the word. You can give discount codes to certain organizations and groups, and you can also target people who you think are going to help shake the trees and get people to your tournament. So, you know, we went off in a bunch of directions on really how to promote a tournament, and how to, you know, how to turn your tournament from a 300 or 400 person event to a 500, 600, 700, 800 person event. So,
yeah, I'd say that right now, especially, you know, we find spring and fall just so packed with tournaments. I mean, we know that there's a tournament every weekend. Some weekends we have 3 tournaments. And, you know, it becomes more and more important to utilize those things that she's teaching you guys, to figure out how to even draw people in nice and early to your tournament, so that you're not competing with the others as much as you know, might have to eventually. So get them
that's a
early.
great point. That's a great point, Vicky. And you know what? That's really what Southern Pickleball is about. There's a lot of tournaments out there, and good for them. They're not trying to take over the tournament market, but what Southern Pickleball is trying to do is put out a quality experience that when you walk away from the tournament, you're going to know that, if things ran smoothly, your bracket started basically on time, it finished in a reasonable amount of time, you weren't sitting around very long between matches. Everything ran smooth from start to finish. And you're like, hey, Southern Pickleball's got their name on this tournament. That's one I want to pencil in because I know that it's going to be well run. And look, we know as a tournament, we know which ones that we've played in the past that we want to go back and play. And we've had this discussion on our podcast. If you could turn your tournament into more of an event, and not just make the pickleball side of things high quality, but make the whole experience of you taking a weekend out of your life to go somewhere, get a hotel room. You want to make sure that you walk away feeling like you had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Having just directed my own first tournament, there's a lot that you have to learn, and there's a lot more goes into it than just taking people's money and letting them come play pickleball. You're absolutely right about that. And I think Southern Pickleball's got the right idea by training people to make an event as opposed to just a day of pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and look, this started in just Georgia, and it was just, and the name was different. It was just, I think Georgia Pickleball Association or something like that. And it started to grow to Alabama, and now they're in 10 states. And I think in 2026, Texas is coming on board. And, Texas, shoot, that's it's almost another country, as big as Texas is. But we talked about where do they want to go from here. And we do have a video, and Bud, you let me know when we want to kind of set this up. But I was able to sit down with Paul Midkiff and Mark Spackman for an interview at the end of our 2-day classroom session. They were kind enough to kind of do a little bit of an interview with us. And maybe this is a good time as any to kind of run that interview. So, why don't we do that? Let's cue it up. And they're going to talk about how they met, the history of Southern Pickleball, what are their goals, and where do they go from here? Hey, welcome. We're here in Macon, Georgia for a Southern Pickleball Conference of future tournament directors. Before we get into more details there, let's just talk about how you two met.
Mark, you want to tell the story?
Well, I guess you probably want me to tell the story since it's sort of favorable. Yeah, so it's crazy. My first pickleball tournament ever, Ken, I ended up playing against this guy.
Uh-huh.
So down in Griffin, Georgia, that nice facility they built down there with 18 courts, which is sort of Griffin sort of set the standard for everybody else in our area of how it done. But I went down there, played a tournament, ran across Paul Midkiff here, and you're not going to let me get by without telling that you won that game, right?
We won that game.
Yeah, so 15-13. He doesn't remember all the details, but he was up 13-8. I came back with my partner, and we tied it up 13-all. And then I just realized that, man, this guy's like a really super guy. He's going to make a great business partner in the future. So I let him have those last 2 points, 15-13, and we were off to a good relationship there.
There you go. And I felt that it's Mark Spackman, correct?
Correct.
And Paul Midkiff.
Midkiff, yes.
Midkiff. And so what are your positions within the organization of Southern Pickleball? What are your responsibilities?
Well, we founded Southern Pickleball.
Uh-huh.
So on that day of the tournament, Mark had started the Georgia Pickleball Association.
Okay.
And he started telling me about what things they were doing, and I thought it was just genius. What they were trying to do is offer reasonably priced tournaments around our area, so we wouldn't have to travel so far to find tournaments. And I said, if I can help in any way, let me. I'm all in. And so I started working with the Georgia Pickleball Association, and after a while, we decided. People were asking us from other states to come run events, and we figured, we could do what we've done here in Georgia in these other states. And 2022, we decided we would move into move outside of Georgia into 7 other states. So a total of 8 states. And this year we've added 2 more, with Virginia and Kentucky coming on as part of the Southern Pickleball umbrella. But we're currently running events in 10 southeastern states, Louisiana being one of them.
Yep. So how many pickleball tournaments do you all put on a year as Southern Pickleball?
So last year we did about 80 events.
Mhm.
So we had somewhere in between 20 and 25,000 players play with us last year. And so, our smallest tournament, I think, there was a cause in Covington, Georgia, with the Mercy Heart Foundation. It was a cause that we just really wanted to support. So I think we had like 43 players to help support that. But then our biggest one was over 1,250 players, here in Macon at Rhythm and Rally, the world's largest indoor pickleball facility. Mm-hmm. So just tournaments of all sizes. I also just wanted to say too, we do have another partner with us, Eddie Gomez, that helped us get started. He was back when we started Georgia Pickleball Association. Excited he's going to be down here this weekend for this big tournament. And we have some tournaments that are really special. We're here this weekend doing this tournament director training before our Making Love Valentine's Day tournament, which is an annual event that it's the world's largest Valentine's Day pickleball tournament. So, that's an exciting thing too. Yeah.
So now as an individual pickleball player, I can join Southern Pickleball, correct? And so what are the benefits as an individual joining Southern Pickleball?
That's a great question. So one, we give a lot of money back to local clubs and parks and recs around. So last year we gave over $50,000 back. So that's sort of our mission, to try to, everywhere that we go, to try to leave pickleball a little bit better than when we got there. That's why we started this, was just to sort of improve pickleball in communities, teach people about pickleball. But then the other, sort of more selfish side, if you're a member, you get included in our Southern Pickleball rankings, where we have the chance to be the #1 ranked player in Southern Pickleball for the year, and then we also offer some really cool discounts on merchandise to our different partners, like with Mizuno and Diadem and Head and Yola and all the different things. So we try to give some big membership discounts. But that being said, we don't require membership. So we always like to say, we would love for people to be a member, but we're not going to be that association that requires membership to be. We want to earn your membership. So we hope that after you play in some of our tournaments and you become aware of the causes that we support, right, and the different things that you'll want to be a part of, we've earned your membership.
That's great. That's great. Now, the other aspect is your pickleball club can associate themselves, be affiliated with Southern Pickleball.
Correct.
So as a pickleball club in the Southeast, one of the 10 states, if I were to put on tournaments in association with Southern Pickleball, what are the benefits there as a club that wants to be affiliated?
Right. So I think the one thing, everybody wants something to advance to, right? Mm-hmm. So we have our local things, but we want to get out of our local region and be able to go to something. So one is our Southern Championships. That Southern Championships with over 1,200 players, that was the largest amateur pickleball only tournament that's ever happened in Georgia. So we even had more players than the PPA Pro Tour had in the amateur divisions here. So another thing, we only allow players to come to that really qualify for the tournament. So you have to medal to come to the tournament. I think a lot of the other events out there that you qualify for, nothing against what they're doing. We love all pickleball. We want every pickleball tournament to be great. But a lot of those other events out there, they say you've qualified, but then when it comes down to it, anybody that pays that entry fee can get into it,
Got
right?
it. Yeah.
But this is an exclusive thing. So your club locally can have the chance to do that. The other thing, because of people like Paul, Paul's run so much stuff and has, and Eddie and others on our team, we've got a lot of knowledge of running that local event. So we can be your first line of tech support, for that club. If they have trouble with software, if they want ideas on fundraisers or different type of league nights or whatever, that's something we would provide if they affiliate. And then I think there's really, Ken, been a saturation of tournaments and leagues and everything. And so I think with our branding and all, that sort of gets you out of that clutter a little bit and sort of brings our brand, hey, it's going to be a quality event. And we just work with our clubs, to make sure that we all are on the same page and we're just trying to build pickleball.
So pickleball brackets is pickleball tournaments, pickleball brackets that's combined now, right? That is the software, and that's really your #1 go-to to look to see what tournaments are going on in a particular area for a particular date within really the world, much less, the United States. So where do we go from here with Southern Pickleball? You guys have done such a great job in just a couple of years. Where do you see Southern Pickleball
where
going?
Would you like to see us go?
Become USA Pickleball or some version of that.
I was just wondering what you're going to say, because we get that a lot. So And we're honored that we get that. You know, that means a lot. It makes us feel special. I mean, when we started, we weren't even sure we wanted to get outside of Georgia. We're not very good at saying no, are we, Paul?
We're not.
And then we've expanded. You know, I don't know. We're happy. Some of the things that we do, in the 10 southern states we run all the UPA, PPA amateur state championships. In Georgia, we also, the Dink minor league, we run all their team events there. And in several of our other states, I don't have the list in front of me, but we're exclusive. And then we partner with some others. So, I don't know. It's a great question. I know 2026, I think we have said we're going to venture into Texas. The other thing is, part of Southern Pickleball is all about great Southern hospitality, right?
Yes.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you just don't happen to be in our 10 Southern states, but you think maybe we want us to come here, well, I mean, we got great hospitality, so we might be able to bring that Southern hospitality to your area if you reach out. The best way to do that would just be through our info at Southern Pickleball if you want to reach out, and you definitely always willing to have a conversation about what it might look like.
Well, I know I'm excited to be a part of it. And this training was to train tournament directors how to, really put on a quality tournament and understand the software as best you can. And with that tech support, it's almost hard really to go wrong. So what didn't I ask would you want us to know about Southern Pickleball?
I think you've done a great job. I think you're great interview. I think you're going to be a great tournament director for in the Louisiana area and
Well, we're excited.
Texas area, wherever you want to go.
Yeah. And I think the one thing too, I mean, we talked about the training this morning. It's just this pickleball pie is so big.
It is.
There's enough for everybody, and we see a lot of at the top of this. And I'm not going to call any different groups out or whatever with that, but there's so much fighting, control, whatever, and it doesn't have to be that way. It is so big that we shouldn't be threatened about each other. There's so many people wanting to learn to play that if we can just all be welcoming to the new player, helping the new player get started, welcoming to the new tournament organizer, a new event, help them do a good job. So everybody's just having a good experience. I just promise there's enough of this for everybody to get what they want out of it. We don't have to sort of be selfish and stuff.
I'll tell you, and it tickles me for you to say that. It really, because there are people out there who are trying to protect whatever they think is theirs, and really, we're just here all to work together to spread the joy of pickleball.
It's been blessed with a great game,
yeah,
right?
I really have, really have. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, and I've loved being a part of the 2-day class, and I'm looking forward to helping out at the tournament.
Yeah,
so,
and playing some singles.
and playing some.
Yeah.
So
All right.
thanks a lot, Mark. Thanks a lot.
The next
Paul.
time we come on, we'll talk about Duper ratings. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Ixnay on the Ooper Day. All right. Signing off.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, what nice guys they are, and look, they don't want to take over the pickleball world. They know that there's enough room for everybody, and those are the kind of people that I am enjoying. And I know Jeff, Bud, Vicky, that's the kind of people that we like working with. People who say that the pie is big enough for us all to share. So it was just a pleasure. I learned so much from being in the course, and I encourage you to not only look for a tournament that has an association with Southern Pickleball, but if you really want to be a tournament director, I highly recommend that you get in touch with Paul Midkiff about going to one of the future tournament director trainings. So,
All right, Ken, thanks. That was really interesting. And now, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, from the Pickleball Crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.